So starting out today with story 1 is by Motor-by 370. So I am 23 female, getting married in a few months, and I have a few significantly older siblings, 34 female, 36 male, 38 male, and 38 male. All of them are now married, and since I was a teen when they got married, they had child-free weddings. I was not invited to any of their weddings. My oldest sibling first had a child-free wedding, and then the others decided to follow. When my oldest brother got married, I was 10, so I was sure I was not getting an invite. But I was still extremely upset. My oldest brother got married to a woman I really love, and I can't even witness it. The other brother got married when I was 12, so again, sure to not get invited. But I was a very well-behaved child and again, his sibling. My sister got married when I was 15. At first, she didn't want a child-free wedding, but all of the family members convinced her because, OMG, it's so refreshing to be in a wedding where children don't bring havoc. So she decided for the cut to be at 16, and when I asked if I could be the one exception since I'm 15 and your sister, she said no with a very serious tone. If we make an exception for you, what about the other children? It's not fair. I got upset and screamed that what was not fair is not participating in any of my siblings' weddings. My parents got upset with me and then grounded me. And lastly, my brother got married when I was 17. At that point, I didn't care. I knew there was going to be a child-free wedding and that once again, I'm not going to be invited. I didn't ask or beg. My step-cousin who just turned 18 just made the cut and I didn't. Well, as I said, I didn't care, sent a quick congrats and that's it. My parents got furious as to why I didn't even congratulate them. I just ignored them and spent all the time in my room with my now soon-to-be husband. Since I'm getting married, I decided none of them are going to be there since I wasn't allowed to be there too. When they didn't get their invitations, they all came to my house and demanded to know why they didn't get one. I simply explained, you didn't want me in your wedding. I don't want you to be in mine. I explained how hurt I was that I was not able to see any of my siblings get married, and they should experience the same thing. They said that the weddings had alcohol, so they didn't want any young, impressionable kids there. And I said all I wanted was to be included in the wedding part. I didn't care about the after party. Mom then started screaming again about how unfair I am, and now she wants all of the kids to be together on that beautiful day. Ironic. But I'm not backing down. I firmly believe in not inviting them. Am I the a-hole? The bottom line is, this is your wedding and you can invite who you want to. But I do caution you to be prepared to lose your family over this if you don't invite them. If you ask me, saving your family's relationship is more important than proving your point. Yes, you were hurt because you weren't invited to their weddings, but you need to look at it from their point of view. They wanted a wedding where children were not invited. And of course, you just weren't old enough at the time. But again, do what's best for you. Just be prepared for the consequences afterwards. Best of luck. Now for some advice before reading the update. Not the a-hole, it was cruel that they excluded you. Their comments about alcohol are ridiculous. It's not hard to keep alcohol away from children at events. They're making excuses. It's fair enough to have a child-free wedding. It's not only that young children may disrupt the event, it's also about cost. Including children can mean having to hire a larger, more expensive venue and providing a lot more food, and catering is expensive. I have never heard of anyone excluding a close family member, though. You were a sibling, not some high school friend's kid. It was a big deal that you were excluded. It was inappropriate and weird, and it's understandable that the result is that you don't feel close to your siblings. Let your mother screech. It's not her wedding. You don't have to listen to her. Tell her she has communicated how she feels and the decision has been made. Then put the phone down or leave the room. If she wanted her kids to be together, she had plenty of opportunities to make sure that you were included and chose not to. If she is attempting to be petty, she missed a good opportunity with her mom. She should have grounded her when she threw the fit, just like they grounded you when you did. By grounded, I mean not allow her to come dress shopping, to the shower, whatever you deem a good comparison. Exactly. You can and should put the parents in time out if they misbehave. It's a recommended method for adult children of narcissists if no contact isn't possible. Yes, it's so refreshing when you realize that you can do that too. It just never occurred to me until my therapist pointed it out. I don't even live in the same state with her anymore, so it's super easy to just chop her right out of my life when she misbehaves. My mom is currently on the last month of a 6-month timeout. She crossed a hard boundary that she is well aware of, was given a warning, and then crossed it again. Boom. 6 months of zero contact, no debates, no compromise. I used to feel guilty when I'd cut her off, but she's a grown-ass woman, and she knows the consequences of her choices, and I am done being manipulated by her crocodile tears. Now for the update. They didn't approve the update, so I will post it here. Hopefully someone sees it. We talked the day after I made the post. I said that the only way that I'm going to invite them if they explain absolutely everything, otherwise no invitation. After some weird looks and silence, the truth came out. I am their cousin. My father's brother was raising me alone and died, so I was raised by my uncle. They do not know who my mother is. I was young, required a lot of attention, wasn't their sibling, so they kind of distanced themselves from me. My brother said that even hated me sometimes. My parents sat there ashamed for never telling me, and my cousin just looked awkward. I just left. We eloped. So after all the drama, we talked and realized we were doing the whole wedding thing because we thought the other wanted it. We are not against the idea of flashy weddings, but calm day with just closest people was closest to our hearts. So we did that, just us and some of our friends. We are keeping the money of our dream country to visit. My parents had the audacity to get married that there was no celebration, but I don't care, to be honest. It was a day for us. That's it. I hope the update was not disappointing. Special thanks for everyone writing me messages telling us that we were too immature to get married. Moving on to story 2. My sister, 30 female, called me, 26 female, yesterday morning to tell me that her partner, 45 male, had been rushed to the hospital. She was in hysterics, and I stayed on the phone with her until she was able to make it to the hospital. She works and her partner stays home with the kids. I do believe he's on some sort of disability unemployment benefit though. Together they have 3 kids who are 7, 5, and 2. Here's some background on me and my sister. We had actually not spoken for almost an entire year before her most recent call to me. We have a really strained relationship starting from our childhood, which was exacerbated by our parents. I'll be honest in saying that my parents always favored me and labeled my sister as a problem child. Since her teens, she's been involved with heavy drug use and partying. She graduated high school but dropped out of the community college. Our strict traditional Asian parents shunned her from their lives after she dropped out of college. They effectively disowned her and pretended they never had an older daughter. My parents haven't spoken a word to her in almost a decade, and they have never met their grandchildren. For the last decade, I've tried to maintain a positive relationship with my sister, but she's betrayed my trust too many times to count, borrowing money and never returning it, stealing my items and pawning and selling them, bringing me into unnecessary drama into her life, etc. To be honest, I've been trying to distance myself from her for the last 3 to 4 years since she's caused me nothing but pain, stress, and suffering. Then last night she called me again to let me know that her partner had suffered a severe stroke and had an emergency surgery. The doctors say they are still very unsure of his prognosis. She then begged me to take in her children for the time being, saying how she can't afford any childcare and that she'll lose both of her jobs if she's forced to stay with the children. Now here's the thing, me and my boyfriend's 5-year anniversary is coming up. We've already bought tickets, requested PTO, and made the accommodations for a 2-week trip to Europe starting from this Friday. The total trip, including airfare, cost us $18,000, most of which is non-refundable. I told my sister I'd call her back and let her know after I spoke with my boyfriend. He said it was my choice completely. I decided that I wanted to go on our anniversary trip, which I had been looking forward to for a full year. I called my sister back and told her that I couldn't because of our trip. She started sobbing over the phone and lashed out at me, calling me cruel and selfish. She said that we could afford just to rebook her vacation and we didn't need that money back, that she was going to lose her job and her children if she couldn't find someone to take them in. It was really a tough conversation, but I stuck with my decision. It's been almost a day since her phone call, and I won't lie, I do feel a lot of guilt. Am I the a-hole? I don't think you're the a-hole in this situation, mainly because there was no communication for quite some time, and then all of a sudden this has sprung up on you. And plus, there's that little matter of $18,000 that you would be losing if you don't go on that trip. There's got to be other options. So again, you're not the a-hole. Stick to your guns on this. Now for some additional advice. Not the a-hole. Normally in this situation, you would be the bad guy. However, with her not talking to you for a year, plus all the past history of drugs, stealing, and drama, I understand the decision that you made. She's trying to drop all the consequences of her poor life decisions in your lap, and that's just not fair. I understand the guilt, but she wore you out and used up whatever sisterly feeling that you had for her with all her bullshit. Totally overused phrase, but particularly appropriate here. You can't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. She sounds like the kind of person that pops out of nowhere whenever she needs something and then disappears after she gets it. I wouldn't be surprised if she disappeared after dropping the kids off, especially if her husband ends up with some complications after his surgery, assuming he survives. That's what I was thinking. She sounds like the kind of person that would leave the kids with OP indefinitely and then not cover their expenses. That jumped out at me too. She wasn't asking for childcare, she was asking OP to take the kids. Oh gosh, I stupidly didn't think of this, but it sounds like something sis could do. And wouldn't that be the cherry on top of this crap sundae? OP, who lived life with tact and wisdom, suddenly gets saddled with 3 kids she never chose to have. Couldn't Grandma and Grandpa help? Try both sides. Moving on to story 3. My husband, 30 male, used to be my boss. About 9 years ago, I started working as his assistant. We spent about 2.5 years ignoring our mutual attraction until we gave in. We then went to HR, who reassigned me, and the whole thing was strictly above board from the time that we began dating. I got pregnant about a year later, and my husband and I decided to just get married. While we had only been dating for about 1.5 years, we knew each other completely, loved each other, lived together, and there was a baby on the way. We knew how it would look, but I had to leave the company anyway due to problems with my new boss. So we didn't anticipate this causing any issues except with my parents. They, 62 male, 57 female, have always been overprotective. So I knew they wouldn't like me dating my boss and hadn't told them, but I had to tell them if I wanted them at my wedding. We decided to be mostly honest with them about it was a strictly professional until it wasn't. How the second it got unprofessional, we went to HR. How he had never taken advantage of me, but now we wanted to get married and we wanted them there. We did not mention the baby because I felt that giving them that information in addition to the rest all at once would just break them. I was only about 4 months along when the wedding happened, so the bump was easily hidden by a flowy dress. The wedding itself went off without a hitch, and apart from my mother pulling me into the bathroom shortly before the ceremony to ask if I was sure about this, which I said I was, my parents seemed to take it well. The ceremony and reception were at 2 different venues, and we had to travel from one to the other, and my parents never arrived at the reception. I called them and got ignored. Then my brother called them and they told him they were going home. I don't remember the exact reason they gave, but it amounted to them being tired and uncomfortable. I tried contacting them after the wedding, but found that I was blocked on everything except email, which I used to send them a long letter essentially saying that I was an adult who made an adult choice, and I hope that they can respect that. 5 years later, I have not heard from my parents since my wedding. My husband and I are not big on social media in general, but I recently posted something for our 5th anniversary in which I mentioned our 2 kids and a third on the way. Within a month of making this post, my parents left a voicemail saying they saw the post and, having had no idea that they had grandchildren previously, now they want to meet them. I haven't responded, and there have been a few follow-ups since then asking why I haven't. I don't know what to do, but my gut instinct is that 5 years is too long and it's about the kids, not about them respecting my choices or a relationship. However, I can't help but feel that I'm being unfair, and my brother agrees because I told them in my email that if they could learn to respect my choice and my marriage eventually, then we could talk, and now I'm retroactively applying a time limit. Edit. Can't find a way to work this out organically, but my husband is not white. I am, as are my parents. I don't think this is a race thing or that my parents are racist, and neither does my husband, and we don't understand why they would want to meet our mixed race children if they are racist. But this element is still gnawing at me. Should I reach out to them? If I did, how would we go about rebuilding the relationship? I just think that you should just take it a step at a time, and the first thing that you should do is reach out to your parents. Have that communication open and honest, and then go from there. If anything, try to rebuild a relationship for your kids so that they can have grandparents in their lives. Best of luck to you. Now for the advice before reading the update. How could you ever trust them not to just abandon your kids if they did something unauthorized? They've shown that they aren't willing to be loving. You can't trust people who don't know how to love. It's not even that they're not loving, but that their love is warped and conditional. It's based on whether OP's actions aligned with their worldview, something I'm not sure OP was aware of, as she lived with them for a number of years. OP knew on some level that her parents wouldn't be happy or approve of her relationship. There was a lot of pretense built around that. It's like a rug that can't be pulled out from under you if they don't agree with what you're doing. That's not real love, that's control. Okay this, because my petty ass was sitting here thinking, oh hell no. They ghosted for 5 years and only want to talk now that they know that they have grandkids? Would they not have ever reached out if it wasn't for the kids? Fuck them. But this is so much more mature and a very reasonable response. If the relationship mends, then introduce the kids. If not, ghost your parents IMO. I would want to have a talk about why they abandoned you in the first place. I wouldn't let them meet the grandchildren until they explain themselves. And even still, I might not go through with it depending on their reasons. And I absolutely would demand that they give me reasons. I would definitely get some ground rules if I decided they are worthy. Yeah, even in the post, OP doesn't give any reason that they would want to see her except that they know that she has kids. That means nothing. They are not grandparents outside of the biological sense. Now for the update. I asked to talk yesterday. We were on Zoom within an hour. It was my parents and me and my husband. They asked to see the kids and I said they could see them eventually, dependent on them earning our trust and convincing us they are going to be positive additions to the kids' lives. They asked to start by reading me a letter that they had claimed to have written on my wedding day. It said that they were uncomfortable with me marrying my former boss, as they thought he took advantage of me. So they left between the wedding and the reception to avoid a scene, but they wanted me to know that they were there for me despite their issues with him. They added that they have sent this to me in the morning after my wedding, but then I sent my email about them needing to respect my choices, and they were so ashamed that they couldn't bring themselves to send theirs. Seeing my anniversary post made them realize how much they've missed in the 5 years, and they really don't want to miss any more. I had some questions like what the big deal was with me marrying my former boss, and they said that it just wasn't what they had in mind for my wedding day and my future spouse. I asked why they even came to the wedding at all if they didn't support the marriage, and my dad responded that he wanted to walk his daughter down the aisle as it was the only chance he'd get. The way it was phrased implied that they had intentionally only come to the wedding so that he could give me away, and always planned to leave halfway because he said my daughter and didn't talk to me directly. It was pretty clear he was thinking about my older sister who had passed away. My husband caught that too and said that if they were talking about me, they should address me directly. Then added if they had planned to leave, they should have told us, as we wouldn't have invited them. And the fact that they waited 5 years to reach out was going to take more reasons than shame, as a father, he didn't understand how they could ignore their daughter for years, or only get back in touch when we had kids. My dad snapped that he wasn't going to take this from a cushy, a slur meaning dark-skinned. My mother immediately tried to run damage control, but I ended the call. They have since messaged me several times trying to explain that calling my husband a racial slur wasn't indicative of a racist attitude, and that he wouldn't have said that in front of the kids, so they should still get to meet them. I've spent 5 years wondering how they were so offended by me marrying my boss that it earned no contact for half a decade. Turns out they're just racist. It almost was nice to find out. If it was just the boss thing, I would have sympathy for them and we might even be able to reconcile, but with this, it's now just a question of if I am going to knowingly expose my mixed-race children to a couple of racists, which I'm obviously not going to do. Moving on to story 4. I've been with my husband for 6 years, married for 3. We own a home as well as multiple pets, but are strictly child-free. I am needing advice on 1, if I'm being extreme, and 2, how to break it to him. I'm a go-getter in life and have climbed the corporate ladder with 0 schooling and simply hard work. My husband attended school for 6 years and achieved an associate's degree. I am in no way looking down on his achievement in school. I am happy that he attended and was able to accomplish what he has done. My problem lies in the aftermath of time that he's had to grow and the status he's kept himself in. My husband works a job that has no growth, no raises, and no interest in him as a person with drive. He self-proclaims he is content while I have to work hard to support us with our huge salary gap. I make double he does. As time has passed, we purchased a home and other landmarks. He has refused to try and step up in any other manner to help me. At one point I asked him if he could at least maybe pick up on some more chores to help me out, since I was desperate to feel any sense of fairness in our day-to-day. He refuses to do any extra work. All repair services, any sort of issue in our lives falls solely to me, since I'm better at figuring things out than him. All phone calls, scheduling problems all fall to me to handle, while his day-to-day consists solely of video games. I have even tried to get him into other hobbies. I'm a gamer too, but I think you need to spread your wings past just that. But he claims he has no other interest in life. I have had multiple conversations, and by multiple I mean practically every 3 to 4 months for 2 years. I have had these come to Jesus talks, trying to get him to step up his game. We don't even do holidays anymore because I would buy him gifts where he would get nothing and claim he didn't like what I asked for. We spent absolutely 0 time together outside of getting food or small talk throughout the day. Even though we both work from home, I'm getting to a place where I'd rather hang out with my online friends than spend any alone time with him. I make up stories about him and I having good times to my friends so that they don't have to have concern for me, and they like him. He is happy to have me go to my best friends for all my emotional support since it's not his forte. We don't text, and when I was out of state for a week, he literally did not message me once. I went to him after an anxiety attack 2 weeks ago, and he didn't even give me attention until I called him out for it. When we talk, I have to actively ask him to say something, or else he will just sit there spacing out, not acknowledging my speaking at all. Our physical relationship is 0, and for many years I thought I may be asexual, but now I'm beginning to wonder if I'm just incredibly unhappy with him. I feel like I've given it every chance that I can. I've tried to set him up for success time and time again, only for his laziness to win out. I have had all the counseling conversations, but I'm always met with, "I'll try to be better," only for nothing to change. Is this a lost hope? I dropped the bomb last week telling him I was on my last chance, and he's been trying this past week to be better. Even with his efforts, I feel so apathetic to it all. I have 0 trust that it will be fixed this time. He's been so happy and jovial, it hurts me to think that I'm going to drop the divorce word on him and hurt him. I know he loves me and considers me the greatest thing to ever happen to him, but I can't help but feel he's something that's holding me back. Any advice on 1, what do we do here, and 2, if I should separate? How to talk to him would be greatly appreciated. It sounds like he needs therapy to overcome his lack of ambition in life, and then couples counseling would do you both good. But it really depends on how you feel and if the relationship is worth saving, so best of luck to you. Now for some advice. It's shocking how profound an effect on your libido being unhappy and feeling like someone's mom can have. If you're ace or low libido, that's cool, but I'd give single life a try before you predict on how you might be in other relationships. So shocking, and it's a slow burn, so it makes sense to eventually end up in a spot where you accept you don't want sex. Do you ever? I myself, and a surprising amount of people I know personally, have been in long-term relationships that made us start to wonder or even accept that we're ace, until we wised up and got out. Being ace is cool, but playing mind games with yourself because you hate your situation isn't. It sucks. I never really had any interest in other people until I went no contact with my mom and set boundaries with my dad at age 28. She was emotionally abusive in a mean way. He parentified the hell out of me. Neither was ever sexually inappropriate, but in every other way he tended to treat me like his wife. Started when I was a preteen. I never had the bandwidth for a relationship and I didn't want one. Given the example I spent every day managing, I was 28 the first time that I was like, oh shit, this is what people feel? It still doesn't happen very often, so I don't know how to define myself. But I'm not super worried about it. I agree, the mind games are difficult. Glad you're out now. I second that. It happened in my relationship. The longer it went on, the worse it got. But it is hard when one person does everything and the partner does nothing. In time, sex was just another chore, and the less it happened, the happier I was. He never figured out why though. He is gone and I am happy. That's all for today. Please check us out in the next video. Thank you.